No, no, maybe. Okay. Now it's the real thing now. That's better. Well done, Tyler. Welcome everybody to the MLB Strategy Show presented by Prize Picks. I'm Eric Lindquist. We're going to talk through this 12-gamer. We got a 12-gamer here in the MLB streets, but first hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. It goes a long way for me. And it goes a long way for my friend Chris over there. Chris Pennell at Chris Pennell 16. He's number one in our hearts though. How you doing, my dude?
Doing well. I feel like we haven't done a show in a while, so looking forward to it. I think it's a good slate today and should be a fun one.
Yeah, no, I've been asking to have shows off with you. How does it feel?
It hurts a little bit, but I'll get over it.
It hurts my feelings. I'm dead inside. But I have a smile on my face the whole time because I'm Chris Pennell. Dude, you're just the best. Excited to be talking with my young gun over here. We got a lot of baseball action to get to. In the interest of time, maybe we just dig into this 12-gamer right from the get-go. Any pleasantries? Anything new happening in your life since we've been away?
Not much. Just getting ready for my first Florida hurricane or tropical storm today. So hopefully the power stays on, but I think we should be good.
Where do you live?
Like South Florida.
Okay. You're Miami Beach youngling kind of thing? No, probably adjacent. Okay. Got it. Well, stay safe. Don't blow away while we're on the show. Not because I'm worried about your safety, because God forbid I have to do the show by myself and say a lot of numbers in order. But let's get to it then, shall we? We've got Tyler Xander behind the virtual blast. The blast? I think I was thinking hurricane. You know what? It's been weird. Sometimes I'm just saying words that I'm not actually meaning. Pause. There it is. Yeah, don't blow away because we need you. But Tyler Xander behind the virtual glass doing a great job here in the early morning. No problem with the countdown whatsoever. Let's get to it. Let's start with your Cleveland Guardians here. 4.3 implied runs at Baltimore, 3.7 on the other side of it. Shane Bieber, first talking point here of the day. We've got some aces, and I do mean we've got some aces on this slate today. He kind of falls in the middle of the board for me, 23.1% K percentage. I know it's a Baltimore matchup, but how are you feeling at his current ownership today?
Yeah, I'm looking at the top pitchers total. He's pretty low on the totem pool, but he does have some positive leverage because of that really low ownership that we're looking at right now. And if you're wondering why Shane Bieber is drawing low ownership versus the Orioles, because typically that'd be a spot you'd want to target. It's because we have so many great aces on the slate. We have Garrett Cole, we have Joe Musgrove, we have Corbin Burns, Shane McClanahan. So once you compare him to those guys, yeah, it makes sense that he's going to be pretty low owned. It's not like he's been the old Shane Bieber where, a Cy Young contender, absolutely just mowing down offenses with a 30+% K rate. It's now down to 23% this year. It's not like he's getting murdered or anything. He's still doing fine. 3.45 xFIP, below walk rate, not giving up a ton of power. But the Orioles have been swinging some pretty hot bats, and I wouldn't say it's my favorite spot in the world, and close to $10,000. I'm not going to get to a ton of Shane Bieber, but with the positive leverage, it doesn't take much to be overweight.
Wait, Loco, you got a puppy? We got the news guy with a puppy. I'm sorry. I mean, that was a great breakdown of Shane Bieber. But Loco, we need puppy pictures on the twitter.com ASAP. Come on now. Now that I'm a dog dad, I get it. I used to be the guy that thought, oh my God, how many pictures can you post to your dog? Answer for me, not enough. Love my little guy. Hopefully you're enjoying that, Loco. It's a lot of work though. Oh my God. Do you have a dog, right?
I do. Not with me, sir.
Yeah. Well, it's named Duke too, right?
Yes.
We both have Dukes. I think that's great. That's some good synergy. Yeah, this is for Greg Ehrenberg. Yep. Tyler knew. Same time. He knew what we were gonna do. We're weird kids. Also,
I need a vacation.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. We're thinking about going to Vegas just for a day next week. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But on the other side of this one, I got to say, Bruce Zimmerman, 613 expected slugging, just a 19.2% K percentage, still finding a way to survive, I suppose, with his 1.30 whip. But yeah, 6.49 xERA. Let's be dead serious. He no good. How do we feel about the Guardians and the other side of Bruce? Because I'm assuming no Bruce Zimmerman interest.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to get to him too much. And he hasn't been as bad as maybe you would think this year, 403 xFIP, but close to 20% KR, but he's giving up a lot of power. And this Cleveland team does not really strike out too much either way. And they're going to put the ball in play. Do they have a ton of power bats? No, but they can be pesky enough to where I think they can get a decent stack, and they're not that expensive outside of Jose Ramirez. Miles Straw up top, $3,800. Amed Rosario, $4,200. Owen Miller, $3,600. Oscar Gonzalez at $2K. Ernie Clement, $2,200. Now I realize a lot of these guys are kind of like creative players. You probably have no idea who they are, but they're cheap. And if you're going with expensive pitching and maybe an expensive stack like in course tonight, I think the Guardians are a decent way to do that.
Yeah, Oscar Gonzalez, just a guy be paying attention to. He's got 16.2% ownership as it stands right now. I think on a 12-game slate, I'll probably get away from that kind of a number, but I definitely want to have shares, and I'll have some full stacks on the other side. Pay attention to ownership. Things are going to be changing throughout the day, constantly in flux, but there's one team on this slate, and then, Toronto too. Let's not be, too... Chichi Gonzalez is on the mound. I couldn't believe I was breaking that down today. But Atlanta, they're going to be very, very popular. And if you avoid them, you can pretty much play anywhere else and probably find a way to be unique on this 12-gamer. So unique New York, Cleveland, we will have a little bit. On the other side, Baltimore is a team I've been stacking up quite a bit, but I don't really want to go out of my way to go try to pick on Shane Bieber. Even with his 453 expected slugging, this ballpark is playing far more cavernous. I find it difficult to want to get to a lot of Baltimore where they're facing. Even though they've been better against righties, I still want to get them against lefties. Just looking at this lineup, I think long term, that's going to be more of when they reach their ceilings. But any Baltimore interest for you today?
Not a ton for me. Like I said, Shane Bieber is a great pitcher, but he's not like the old Shane Bieber where he's just completely mowing down offenses like on the level that Corbin Burns or Garrett Cole are, in the past couple of seasons. So for me, it's just going to be a spot where I probably play a little bit of Shane Bieber, and I'm not going to have too much Baltimore, especially on such a large slate. I think there's definitely a lot better offense to get to.
All right. Well, we continue on. Oh my God. We got a game done in like 2 minutes. I am floored. What, Tyler? What?
Not y'all.
Okay, cool. We're back. We continue on with our lives. This quick commercial interruption brought to you by me. Los Angeles Angels, no implied run total. Philadelphia Phillies, no implied run total, but we have the pitchers, so I don't know why. I think part of it has to do with maybe the Angels don't play Ohtani playing both sides of a doubleheader or something to that capacity. I don't know, but we'll wait on those implied totals. But we know Chase Silseth, 16.4% K percentage, 4.39 expected ERA, across the board here. One of their young prospects that we'll see kind of how it looks going forward, but a very tough spot. And Zach Eflin on the other side, serviceable real life pitcher. Don't really feel like I roster him that much. However, I did watch his last start and I was trying to find if there's anything specifically about his breaking ball where he got more spin. Because let me tell you, it was falling off a cliff, in the last 2 starts that he's had, but there's really no noticeable difference. So I think maybe just kind of some outlier swing and misses on a specific pitch. How do you feel about Zach Eflin and Chase Silseth in this spot?
Not a huge fan of Silseth here. I just don't really see the reason I want to go against Philly in such a large slate. I'd much rather play Zach Eflin at a cheaper price point, only $6,100 on DraftKings. And it's not like a great DFS player too often. I don't really roster Zach Eflin, like you said, too often, but 3.5 xFIP, 22% K rate, low walk rate, doesn't give up a ton of power, only a 20% hard contact rate this year and less than a homer allowed per 9. I don't think he's a bad option. I know obviously Los Angeles has tons of power in their lineup, but they also strike out quite a bit as well. So if you're looking for a serviceable SP2 that's really cheap to get in some real expensive stacks today, I don't think Eflin's a bad option.
Yeah, I'm kind of starting to talk myself into it. Maybe it's the eye test where I think maybe with the way that I've seen the pitch mix working the last couple starts, I don't know why I've been stacking against him and watching these games, but it hasn't been fruitful. And I will just say he's been pitching better. No doubt about it. 12 strikeouts against the Dodgers team. That's the one that really stood out. 7 earned runs against the Mets. That was really, really bad. So Jekyll and Hyde, that's what you're getting into with Zach Eflin. But at that price, $6,100 on a slate where we want to pay up for some bats, pretty much every slate when you want to pay up for bats, Zach Eflin has to be considered, I think, up against this Angels team. There are strikeouts to be had. There's also a lot of power to be had. Talked about Ohtani, 597 expected slugging. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's pretty good. Mike Trout, 663 expected slugging. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's pretty good. Taylor Ward, 609 expected slugging, best WRC plus out of all of them, because why wouldn't he? Absurd stuff going on at the top of the order. Rest of the lineup sucks, but I'll throw some Stassi if he's in there. Jared Walsh. How do you feel about the Angels against Zach Eflin?
Yeah, if I were stacking Angels today, we'll see how much I actually get to. I'm sure in 150 max builds, I'll have some Angel stacks. But for me, outside of the top four, it's really tough to get to these guys unless you're playing Max Stassi just because he's got the catcher eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no chance I got my way to play Andrew Velasquez or Tyler Wade. So it's really just going to be maybe they fall into one-offs but 1 through 4 is going to be the main stacking portion for me.
Yeah, Jay Noah, they had a doubleheader yesterday. The Angels did against the Yankees. So that's what I was referring to. So we'll see. I think that might be why they're waiting for that run total, perhaps, because if you get Ohtani in, that could be drastically different in terms of an outcome than having to play, I don't know, Brandon Marsh, Tyler Wade. These are bad guys. They're bad. I mean, they're probably good people, but
maybe
questionable at best. Philadelphia side on the other side. I don't know how to say other side another way. I'm looking up and down this lineup. There's power to be had, but Bryce Harper did get scratched yesterday. Just throwing it out there. If he's not going to be in that lineup, still Seth, maybe a better path. I can't talk myself into rostering him, looking at his pitch mix, looking at what we know about him so far. Ground ball rate, somewhat there, 5.4 degree average launch angle here as well for the season, but a 40.9% hard hit percentage. He's 22. He's still getting his sea legs. That's not a good thing against professional hitters like Schwarber, Castellanos, Hoskins, Real Muto. Philly's really, really low owned. Can I get you on board with any?
Yeah, I can. I was looking at some of Sosa's splits, and it's a smaller sample size, but he's been pretty tough on the righties as far as the power is concerned. 60% ground ball rate, less than 100 ISO, less than a 30% hard contact rate, and 0 homers allowed per 9. But when you look at the lefties, again, we're talking about smaller splits, but a 334 ISO, 3.6 homers allowed per 9, and only 17% K rate. So I think some of the lefties obviously look good. We'll see what happens with the lineup if we get Bryce Harper, but Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper would be the 2 top options there. And I'm not going to completely shy away from the righties. I mean, yeah, the splits are worse for them, but I still think a full on stack would be fine with the Phillies.
All right. Anything else from this game for you?
And that should be interesting. Just waiting on run totals and make a better decision there.
Yeah, we got Sherman W. Anderson, EL plus CP, King. I like that. Those are cool emojis. We'll take the king love that you give us here at what time is it? 8:13 a.m., 11:13 over there, but you're dealing with a hurricane. So you're more impressive than me out here in LA living the cushy life. Let's go on. What do we got next? Let's do one more game. Then I'll talk things. Arizona Diamondbacks, 3.8 implied runs at Pittsburgh Pirates, 3.7. Merrill Kelly. I like this guy. I kind of like Arizona's pitching staff with the exception of Madison Bumgarner, mainly because I'm just biased against the human being. I don't like him as a person, but also one of the best postseason pitchers of all time. I think I'll probably be okay saying that. But Merrill Kelly just been a really good real life pitcher, 33.5% hard hit percentage, 252 expected batting average, 426 expected slugging. Those are basically just league average. He does walk some guys from time to time, 8.7% walk rate. He's not really getting all the strikeouts you'd necessarily want from a fantasy perspective at 20.5%. But this is a Pittsburgh Pirate offense that is, what's the word? Oh, yeah, they're not good. So we can probably roster whoever we want up against them. They've got a 25.3% K percentage against righties for the season, and 85 WRC plus with just a 124 ISO. Let me count the ways that you could actually roster Merrill Kelly at low ownership. And I will just say it's because of Pittsburgh. Are you going to roster any?
I think I could see myself getting to some Merrill Kelly, especially if you're looking at ownership. He should come in lower owned than a guy like Zach Eflin. So if you're looking for some positive leverage there, I believe both these pitchers actually in this game do have positive leverage on the top pitcher stool. So that is something that I'm going to be interested in. Merrill Kelly, I mean, these guys are kind of like the battle of mediocre pitching, but they do have upside. So I don't want to call them completely mediocre because they can flash a little bit. But the matchups are great for both. Like for Merrill Kelly, like you mentioned, Pittsburgh, 25% K rate to righties, only 124 team ISO, 85 WRC plus for JT Brubaker, 25% K rate for Arizona. They just walk more and have some more power. So I think there's a little bit more downside for him. But I think both guys are fine, but I would have a lean towards Kelly just because he's below 7K. And, you know, I like the matchup versus Pittsburgh quite a bit.
Tom Spaulding, like these two, Eric and Chris, good baseball with a baseball emoji, then knowledge. Thanks. You are so welcome, Tom Spaulding. Keep making those basketballs. You're crushing it. They don't use Spauldings anymore in the NBA, do they? Is it still Spaulding?
Don't ask me.
I don't know. But Tom Spaulding, probably no relation. And you're a great person. I've seen you in chat from time to time. Shout out you. And then Mike Campbell coming into troll saying, ask the Dodgers how good the Pirates are. Oh, my friend. I bet the Pirates every single game of that series. And if you watched any of my Prize Picks videos, you would have saw Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes were my favorite guys to play against Walker Buehler, Julio Urias. I'm a sick person who goes contrarian even in the world. So yes, there's that. Tyler Xander, yes.
Starting in 2021-22 season was the first year they used Wilson instead of Spaulding. So
see, I knew they switched the ball, and sad stuff. I started to say that out loud. Mad Bub, terrible human, like Zach Davies. Both of them confirmed terrible humans. They're not the ones I'm referring to on this pitching staff. Up and down the board with them. I mean, I guess there's only two guys that I like from the Arizona pitching staff. I mean, I like Zach Gallen and I like Merrill Kelly. So that's kind of what I was getting at. Those two guys I feel like are the same person. If I saw them walking down the street, well, one's got a K rate, one doesn't, but still, I couldn't discern between the two on the street. I just like them looking at their pitch mix, and I think they're just serviceable pitchers. And this is Pittsburgh on that side. You know, another serviceable pitcher that I probably roster way too much. His name's JT Brubaker. He's on the other side of this game. He's got 9.3% positive leverage in the top pitcher stool. That's second best here on the slate. I think Awesemo loves him just as much as I do, considering that is seventh best on a board of all aces. He is a top two pitcher a ridiculous amount of the time compared to the rest of the field. I think JT Brubaker would be a massive stand. I would be massively overweight if the slate started right now. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, right now we have them less than 1% owned. If that's going to be the case versus an Arizona team that does struggle versus righties, they do have power, yes, but Brubaker, not a bad pitcher, over 23% K rate this year. He can give some pop, but not going to be overly concerned about it. Like, Brubaker's got better optimal chances than a guy like Shane Bieber, Tyler Anderson, Chris Bassett, some pretty solid pitchers. So if the slate started right now, I'd agree with you. I definitely want to be way overweight, like 1% owned. But I could see that maybe rising a little bit throughout the day. But either way, we should still get some positive leverage on Brubaker.
I can't imagine I roster like 35% of them or something, but you know what I mean? It's just relative to the field. I would have double digits. I would have teens. I would have low 20s. I would have something in that ballpark because leverage high. It's pretty important in baseball DFS. And, you know, these pitchers are not very popular. These offenses are not very good. I have been rostering Arizona a little bit above expectation, but wind's blowing in slightly, it's blowing out slightly. Sorry, 73 degrees there in Pittsburgh. Not my favorite ballpark to go out of my way and roster hitters in. Do you have interest in either offense?
Not really for me. I think both pitchers are going to be fine. In such a large slate, I don't really want to take a huge stance on Arizona or Pittsburgh. I think there's better spots to get to. Maybe if you want to hedge yourself, if you're going to be overweight, maybe just get a couple of stacks in there, but I don't really see it.
Yeah, but Brian Reynolds confirmed no longer 4.5 fantasy points for him every single day, where that's just been a cash cow on Prize Picks. You play the flex play, you play two batters from the same team. So I was playing Brian Reynolds, and then when they moved Cabrian Hayes to the leadoff spot, it was just like auto smash. Cal Mitchell will be batting leadoff a lot against right-handed pitching going forward, so just be aware of that. But then that just means Brian Reynolds goes to the 2-hole, Cabrian Hayes to 3. Really not that big of a deal. I've been playing the over on their fantasy scores on Prize Picks constantly. I will not today because it's finally inflated to the correct place. Let's continue on then. But first, let's talk about MLB stuff you can get here at Awesemo. We have, you can get everything we have here at the Awesemo, at the Awesemo.com. Beautiful place to be if you play DFS because of the player projections, ownership projections, lineup builder, and so much more for MLB. But then NBA, we've got the NASCAR streets with Chris over there, just crushing daily. Well, actually not daily, on Sundays, right? Just Sundays.
Pretty much.
There we go. MLB Strategy Show, all caps, one word, gets you 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. If you want to take advantage of projections in every sport, yes, the NBA Finals coming back around on Sunday. Way to go, Celtics. Plus 3.5, run to the bank. That was so much fun. But MLB Strategy Show, all caps, one word, gets you all of the great offerings we have here at Awesemo Plus for 50% off. So stop guessing, start winning, and join Awesemo Plus today. All right, we continue on. Down the board we go. Is this the spot? Yeah, it really is going to be one of the spots here. Detroit Tigers, 2.4. Yeah, you heard me. 2.4 implied run total going up against the Yankees, 5.1 on the other side. So logic tells me play all things Yankees today in some capacity. But let's just start with Elvin Rodriguez, because I would say the underlying metrics are better than people would assume from the get-go here. Elvin Rodriguez, a 3, what is it? Where did it just go? 3.18 expected ERA, 20.8% K percentage. I don't think I can really do it. I don't think I can talk myself to clicking on any, but he's 5K Yeah, I can't do it. How about you?
I was hoping you were going to make a case for him because I can't do it either. I mean, 4.65 xFIP. The K rate's above 20%. Maybe that's the nicest thing I can say. And the hard contact rate's only at 12.1%. But again, we're talking about 11 inning sample size. The number probably rises, especially after this game versus the Yankees. Not a great place to pitch. Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is pretty much an all things Yankees for me. I'd much rather be on the Yankees side than I would having any shares of Elvin Rodriguez.
Let's get into Garrett Cole here, because I expected when I woke up to see him around 55% on DK. This is a Detroit matchup that it cannot be overstated how fantastic it is. 24.2% K percentage. Meh, that's not even the most appealing part. 75 WRC plus and just a 107 ISO for a guy who from time to time has gotten himself in trouble this season. But how does Garrett Cole get in trouble against this lineup? I mean, we are talking about one of the most abysmal things I've ever seen with these two eyes. Harold Castro, Daz Cameron, the corpse of Miguel Cabrera, the disappointment of Spencer Torkelson, Jonathan Scope hitting the ball somewhat hard, but only a 408 expected slugging. Javier Baez, massive regression. Heimer Candelario, overrated. I mean, have I done enough here? I mean, Garrett Cole, he has to be higher than 40% on DK today, right?
Yeah, if he's not, I want to be overweight on that. I know right now he has negative leverage, but I'm willing to look past that. I'm going to play a lot of Garrett Cole today. If I'm playing cash games, which I'm a little bit boring and I do that, I'm going to be preparing Garrett Cole as my main ace up top. I mean, I'll find a way to make it happen, and I'll pair him with some of the other pitchers that we're going to talk about later on. But I mean, a 31% K rate, not walking anybody, not giving up a ton of power this year, 24% hard contact rate, xFIP at 2 3/4. I just don't see a scenario where Garrett Cole can't get close to 30 points today.
I don't see a scenario where I roster a single Tigers batter. Do you?
No, I don't.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk the Yankees, because this is a team that has upside. I'm going to throw it out there. Even if the Tigers are the most positively leveraged team in the top stacks tool, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I'm just throwing it out there. It's not going to be for me. Everybody else, have fun, enjoy all the money, but I will not be doing it. I'm looking at the Yankees as the team that if you're not going to roster Atlanta and Toronto, I mean, yeah, there's negative leverage there, but you can kind of know the path to get some one-offs, to get some 5-2s. I mean, Gleyber Torres has been on a tear now here of late. Aaron Judge continues to just smash baseballs into orbit. Those are the two guys I'm really revolving around if I'm going to be, playing one-offs or anything specifically from here. They're just bright red on the Baseball Savant screen, and that is a good thing to see. Is there any other Yankees that you might be stacking up here in this spot?
You might have to consider Matt Carpenter. I can't remember if you mentioned him, but I
sure did not. I can promise you that.
Me and Terry,
I rostered him one time this year in the 9-hole on accident, and it went well, but stop it.
Well, me and Terry slandered him on the strategy show yesterday for about 5 minutes, and then I think he hit a leadoff homer versus Ohtani. So I was like,
I think he did.
Right. Perfect.
Welcome to baseball.
Yeah, right. But if he can do it versus Ohtani, maybe he can do it versus Elvin Rodriguez today. If he's going to be leading off at $3,300, if you're stacking the Yankees, I think you have to have some interest. I know he's bad at baseball, but I'm still a little upset what he did yesterday, right after I talked about him 20 minutes later. But you can pretty much get to all the Yankees here: Carpenter, Judge, Rizzo, Torres, DJ. Joey Gallo sucks, but he's there batting 6th. At least he's got at least some power versus righties, even though he doesn't make contact a lot. But definitely a team I can get to if I have a 5-run total. I don't think it's too bad there.
In the Gallo. It was shallow, but it was this Gallo. I tried. I thought it was funny in my head, and then I said it, and it wasn't.
I laughed in my head.
Thanks. It's early. Minnesota Twins, 3.8 implied runs. Toronto Blue Jays, 5.7. Chichi Gonzalez is back in our lives, making his season debut as a Twins fan, as a DFS player. I can tell you how this goes for Chichi Gonzalez, and I will just throw it out there. Not good. 5.64 career ERA. He limits the ability. He just doesn't have any strikeout ability, but he is 4K. 1, is he stretched out enough for you to consider rostering him today? And 2, Chichi Gonzalez, why is he in the major leagues?
I don't really see a scenario where I'm playing Chichi. Yes, he's back in our lives, but he's not going to be back in my lineups. I just don't think he's going
to. Look at that alliteration at its finest. In our lives, but not my lineups.
Right?
That was fire.
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing Chichi today. He just doesn't strike anybody out. He's not going to miss bats. This Toronto team's got tons of power. You have George Springer, Bo Bichette, Vlad, Teoscar, Kirk, and bottom half kind of falls off a little bit, but at least Chapman and Jansen we know can do something, and Tapia can make a hit for contact. And like I said, Chichi's not going to be missing bats here. So with a near 6 implied run total, these guys aren't going to be as high owned as Coors. So I think it's a pretty good pivot. Are they going to have ownership still? Yes, but it's not going to be as bad as Coors Field.
Do you guys play baseball? Are we just going to keep talking? Who plays baseball here? What? This is a baseball show. I'm confused. It's okay. 6.8 expected ERA for Chichi in 2021, 12.5% K percentage, a 388 xWOBA. That is bottom 1% of baseball. Twins, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So we'll talk about the Toronto side here in a second, but you said Kikuchi. You say Kikuchi, I say Kakachi. I don't know. That's a tomato joke. That one wasn't good either. 24.4% K percentage, sub 5 expected ERA, but like, I don't know how I get to a lot of him. He is not my favorite pitcher in baseball, to say the very least. From time to time, you can get some strikeouts, 24.4% K percentage on the season, but I'm not going out of my way to pick on this Minnesota lineup so long as we see Byron Buxton at the top of it. Enough serviceable hitters and guys who are starting to smash the baseball. Hi, Kyle Garlick. Nice to meet you. Talk to me about Yusei Kikuchi.
So I think there's some path for him to have a pretty good game here. I mean, a 4.2 xFIP, close to a 25% K rate. One thing he always has issues with is the walk rate. That's over 13% this year, and he's giving up quite a bit of power as well, and decent amount of hard contact, close to 37%. And Minnesota does have some guys that can hit left-handed pitching pretty well. But for me personally, I'd rather get to guys like Merrill Kelly, JT Brubaker, and similar price ranges and much softer spots. Because if you're looking at Minnesota's lineup, I mean, Byron Buxton up top, has he been great recently? No, and trust me, I know, because I've been rostering him and it hasn't really worked out too often. Kyle Garlick, Corey Polanco, Gary Sanchez, though, we got plenty of power here. Obviously, we lost Max Kepler, I believe on the restricted list, but left you on the mound anyway, so that wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, not a huge fan of the Twins. I'm not a huge fan of Kikuchi either. It's kind of just a miss spot, to put it simply.
If I can finally roster my Twins and not have negative leverage galore on them, I'm going to do it. I understand that Kikuchi, it's not the most appealing spot to be targeting, but I don't believe that he's very good here. I'm looking at the DK top stacks tool. There they are. Just flat leverage, 2% top stack isn't very high whatsoever. But Byron Buxton, I believe you to be very good at baseball. It's been bad of late, but who cares? I look at the long sample size and he's going to be incredible. So 4,800 now for Byron Buxton. Oh boy, give me all of that. You got Kyle Garlick, 2,700, another piece that I'll have a lot as a one-off here. But Toronto is the side that the public wants to just smash. And how can I blame them with Chichi Gonzalez? I wish it were Chichi Rodriguez. At least you would get a couple of swords. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
He's the golfer, the pro golfer that he would always do like the sword thing with his putter when he made a putt. Then he'd put it in his side.
I've never watched golf. I'm sorry.
This show took a turn. Please get out of here.
NASCAR guys never watched golf? What? That's crazy.
Okay, now that you say it like that, I'm with it, Tyler. Like now it makes sense to me. But all right, go ahead and talk about these chalky Blue Jays. Enjoy.
Okay, yeah, they're going to be chalky, but it's hard not to like them. We have close to a 6 implied run total, and while they are going to be pretty popular today, got to keep in mind looking at some of these ownerships for stacks. It looks like Cleveland and Atlanta are popping up a little bit more. It's hard to compare Toronto to Cleveland because Cleveland's that value stack that makes the top end pitching work, and a top end stack like Atlanta. So they're kind of your pivot off of Atlanta. They're still drawing some negative leverage. So I don't want to go too crazy on Toronto, but definitely a team I want to get to. I mean, obviously we all know Chichi Gonzalez is not very good at baseball. You have Springer up top below 5K. You have Vlad at only $4,300. It's a fantastic price for Vlad. Bo Bichette's right there. Santiago Espinal, $3,600, and just lots of power up and down. So definitely want some Blue Jays in my life.
Anything else from this game?
No, probably just gonna be a bad time for Chichi.
Probably going to be a bad time. I'm hoping it's not the worst of times. Tale of two cities. I kind of hope that it's more of the best of times for him. He's a flat 4K. I could do crazier things and have a share out of 150. Actually, that's the dumbest thing I've ever said. Don't roster Chichi Gonzalez. Chicago White Sox. You can roster the guy on the mound for Tampa Bay on the other side of this one. But White Sox, 2.9 implied total. Tampa Bay, 4.1. Vince Velasquez, meh. If you want to talk about him, be my guest. But I think we both want to feature Shane McClanahan. The dude is an absolute stud. I love watching him pitch. Tall lefty up on the mound, southpaw, slinging it, 36.3% K percentage, it's actually a 0.91 whip, not sub 0.9, but a 2.45 expected ERA across the board, does everything well. I love this man. Do you?
Yeah, and there's a lot of times where I don't really want to roster lefties versus the White Sox, but this is not one of those times. I mean, a sub 3 implied run total. It's a great park to pitch in. He's got good win equity here because I think the Rays can put up some runs on Velasquez. He's got a sub 2 xFIP this year, north of a 36% K rate, only a 100 ISO, lots of ground balls, doesn't give up much power at all. I mean, what's really not to like here from McClanahan? He's also in the 4-figure range. You don't have to pay 5 figures like you do for Cole, Corbin Burns, or Joe Musgrove. So while he's not going to be as high owned, he's still drawing in some negative leverage, but I don't mind being overweight on McClanahan if you want to try to get off some, either Corbin Burns or Garrett Cole up top.
I love the Tampa Bay side of this one. We'll get to their bats here in a second, but Vince Velasquez, let's talk about why I like those Tampa bats. 591 expected slugging. Out of the gate, he had a couple of spike K performances, but he's back down to around a 21%, as he should be, 21% strikeout rate. Across the board, bad numbers, high hard contact. It's going high and far. The nicest thing he has going for him is this ballpark because everything else is terrible. We're not going to roster Vince Velasquez, but can I talk you into Tampa Bay over a Toronto stack or an Atlanta stack?
You can because of the ownership. Obviously, it's not going to look as good on paper, but I'm always a fan of stacking against Velasquez. And looking at his splits this year, I mean, you can roster lefties or righties versus him, but he's actually struggled a lot more versus the righties, close to a 300 ISO versus them, close to a 5 xFIP, 40% hard contact rate, and close to 3 homers allowed per 9. I know it's not a great place to hit, but yeah, I can definitely get on board with some Tampa here, even though the implied run total isn't great, but neither is Vince Velasquez.
Yeah, it's kind of one thing's got to give here because all the numbers look pretty awful. Again, implied total, that's the real thing to be paying attention to. Alex talked about that on his shows this week where, 4.1. It's not as high as 5.7 or 5.1 we just talked about with the Blue Jays and Yankees, and it's certainly not 6.3 like we have for the Braves. But in the grand scheme of things, you still are looking for outlier performances, and Vince Velasquez, I believe, can offer up some meatballs. That's a spicy meatball. I have no White Sox interest at all.
I don't either. Shane McClanahan is one of my favorite pitchers to watch, and I'm going to stick with him here. I don't want to really want to roster the White Sox.
Oh my God, guys, we are just halfway through. We have half the games down, hang on, math. Yep, half the games down. I did a good job there. I counted to 6, but it's Prize Picks time, baby. Head to prizepicks.com, sign up using promo code Awesemo. Use that $100 first match deposit bonus with the promo code Awesemo, as well as if it's your first time signing up over there, get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum just by signing up today and taking advantage of everything we have behind the paywall to help you win money on their cross-sport platform. They offer not just MLB, but of course the NBA streets, which were not profitable for me last night. Let's not kid ourselves here. Steph Curry eruption spot, even in a loss, that was brutal because I loved the Celtics side of it, but such is life. We still have NHL going. That's going strong here. I'm looking at all of the Tampa Bay Rangers props that are available to you over there. And that PGA, that's constantly going with birdies are better matchups. You could do strokes, 70.5. Muirfield is going to play tougher this afternoon. We'll throw that out there. Lots of different things that you can put your sports acumen to the test over at Prize Picks. So you use promo code Awesemo, get that $100 first match deposit bonus, as well as a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, every single sport behind the paywall for 30 days, just by checking them out. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of the strategy show. I had to think about what I was on. Joaquin Niemann under 71 strokes. Fire that up at will too, by the way. All right, let's do this. Next game on the board, halfway. Seattle Mariners, 4.1 implied runs. Texas Rangers, 3.9. Oh, Logan Gilbert, Dane Dunning, 2 guys that I do roster quite a bit. Logan Gilbert, less so because he's been very, very expensive. He's down a little bit further to 8,600 now, starting to garner some attention against this Texas Rangers lineup. That certainly makes sense to me considering their 131 ISO against righties, just an 89 WRC plus with a 23.2% K percentage. How do you feel about Logan Gilbert here in Texas?
Yeah, I definitely don't mind him. We have a sub 4 implied run total against him, and I think there's a decent chance he can have a pretty strong game. And like you said, he's always pretty expensive, so I have a hard time getting to him. And if you're playing over on FanDuel, I just $10,000 is a bit much for me when you only have to spend $800 more for a Garrett Cole or even less than that for a Shane Bieber. So tough time for me to get over there on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I think he's a fine SP2 option. If you're looking to get off a really chalky Nathan Eovaldi, who we're going to talk about later at a similar price range, I think Logan Gilbert's actually in a pretty good spot here. North of a 25% K rate this season, about a 100 ISO given up. Doesn't get as many ground balls and 36% hard contact rate. But like we said earlier, Texas is not that great versus righties. Don't really impose too much of a power threat. So I think Gilbert can kind of slide by and have a pretty strong game here, which should be hopefully lower ownership than some of the other SP2s in the 8K range.
I think it's the warmest game on the slate at 82 degrees. That's one thing it is. There we are. Good job. I can also read numbers and temperatures. Well done, Eric. But if the roof's going to be open, the roof is open, 82 degrees. That's a decent enough hitting environment comparably to everywhere else, but this is Logan Gilbert, and I really don't want to go out of my way to get to anything Texas when there are some glaringly obvious offensive spots that exist on this board. I'm going to find it very difficult to land on too many of these guys. So that being the Rangers, of course, but can we talk Dane Dunning? Because he's also falling in that category of guys I probably roster more than I should. But it makes sense. 23.5% K percentage. He always ends up being pretty cheap now. But you do have an 8,600 Gilbert. And it's like, well, if that exists, if I can get some value in that regard, JT Brubaker, I really, really like. 7,300 Dane Dunning isn't as appealing as he might be on most 12-game slates, especially with Atlanta. The pricing's kind of broken on them. So if you want to go the Coors route, let me tell you, it's not that hard today. But Dane Dunning, can I talk you into any against the Seattle team?
You could talk me into a little bit of him. I already prefer some of the almost said drivers getting used to NASCAR. some of the
it's all right. I mean, he's kind of driving. He's the main driver of the day for the baseball team.
Yeah, we'll go for that. But we have Merrill Kelly, JT Brubaker, like we already talked about, and I like Logan Gilbert. I mean, not really that far as close as being similar price, but I think Dave Dunning's fine. He's he's a pitcher with talent, 23.5% K, like you mentioned earlier. Gets a lot of ground balls. The one thing I will say, gives up a good chunk of hard contact, close to 40% this year, but that's not really leading to too many homers. Seattle's a team where I have been stacking versus Baltimore the past few days, but versus Dunning is obviously not going to be as something I want to do as much. So I can get to some Dunning as a pivot option in the mid-range, but I'm not super excited about it.
Well, if Dane Dunning were to crash into the wall, Talladega style, or what's another track that there's just like a lot of crashing?
Daytona.
There you go. Daytona. That's the one I was getting at. That seems that's in Talladega, right?
Talladega's in Daytona's in Florida.
Oh, yeah. I'm asking the right guy. I'm just going to shut up. I think Seattle definitely has to have some kind of appeal. Just if it's going to be a decent enough, warm enough game environment. I think there's just a lot of upside with this offense now that Julio Rodriguez is batting like the guy he was supposed to be, up in the 3-hole, 4,600, JP Crawford and Eugenio Suarez. I think 1 through 5, lots of appeal. And even at the bottom end of this order, Taylor Trammell has started to come alive. He is 2K flat still on DraftKings. Cal Raleigh. This might be a team that kind of falls in the sneaky category where I like them a little bit more than the public does. They've got a 5% top stack potential, 2.2% leverage. How do you feel about Seattle today?
Yeah, I don't mind them at all. I mean, they're kind of like a sneaky offense. Like you mentioned, there's some good bats there. Jesse Winker obviously hasn't been up to expectations from what he's been doing in Cincy the past couple of seasons, but Ty France has been tearing it up this year, making a ton of contact. He doesn't strike out at all. Julio Rodriguez got some power. He's obviously got a ton of speed as well if he can get on the bases. JP Crawford's been doing well this year. Suarez strikes out a ton, but we know he's got power upside. Frazier's a good contact guy. And Trammell, like you said, he's only $2,000, a cheap lefty and righty spot. I don't mind that at all if you're in a pinch for salary down low.
That was super easy. Texas, we don't really want to talk about them, do we?
Not really. I'm a fan of Logan Gilbert.
I like Logan Gilbert many times over. That's for sure. So hopefully he pitches well today because I will have lots. Houston Astros, 4.7 implied runs. Kansas City Royals, 4.3. Jose Urquidy. I don't know why I do that. It's like the little dudes from Return of the Jedi, the Ewoks.
I don't want to say it, but I haven't seen it.
What?
I've not seen it.
Yeah, see, it sounds like Urquidy. You know what I'm talking about, Ty. See, Tyler Xander, best producer in the game, period. End of story. Jordan Klein, get off my lawn. But Chris Pennell, you've never seen Star Wars?
Not once, no.
We got to just end the stream and you can go watch them this afternoon. You're welcome.
Well, all right.
This afternoon.
Do you like Lord of the Rings? Do you like, is it like a sci-fi fantasy thing for you? Or is it, you're too cool for school?
I played the Lord of the Rings video game. I've never seen the movie.
Yeah. The Two Towers video game was fire back in the day.
I was probably like 6. I don't remember it much. I'm sorry. I'm disappointing you.
Yeah, but an afternoon for Star Wars, Eric, he's gonna need like a week off of work, dude. Like it's a grind to watch every single. So you can skip the ones they made in the recent years, by the way. They're all terrible. You don't need to watch those. Just watch the old ones.
Got it. Get a paid vacation.
I feel like I should just leave now. I was going to talk about Brady Singer more so than Jose Urquidy, but now I just don't want to talk about anything. So pitchers from this game, go.
I feel like we're in an awkward spot now, but maybe I can
it's
get
okay.
you on some
Work. Just do your job. Leave. Go. Don't stop disappointing your father.
Gotcha. Well, I might disappoint you here, maybe touting some Brady Singer versus Houston, but I might try to do it.
Oh, I'm doing it. That's what I'm getting at. So I'm with you. All right, we're back, baby. 26.3% K percentage, even against Houston. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good. I know Brady Singer doesn't have great name value, but a 2.63 xFIP, 26.3% K rate. He doesn't walk anybody, doesn't give it much power, a 56% ground ball rate, not a ton of hard contact or homers allowed. I realize the matchup versus Houston sucks, but I mean, Brady Singer at $700. He's again, like there's so many good mid-range options where you don't have to completely go to the chalk today. I obviously it's awful matchup versus Houston, but I don't mind it. Singer's been really good.
Yeah, he's one of the best young prospects in baseball. He's only 25. He was a first round pick, 18th pick, 2018. It was. The guy's just avoiding these walks that had started to linger a little bit for him. Wasn't really getting putaways. So he went from having an 8.7 to 9% walk rates in 2020, 2021 to a 4% walk rate so far this season. That's exceptional. You're starting to see the Ks go up as a result of him finding the zone a little bit more often. 3.5 expected ERA. I think he's just a good pitcher. And, he's just fastball, slider, changeup. I mean, there are no bells and whistles with this guy, but that fastball is a plus pitch. The slider's decent. The changeup is useless. But for the most part, I look at that slider. 40% whiff percentage, 24.6% put away pitch. That sinker, it's basically his fastball. It's got a 22.4% put away percentage, even though it's inducing no whiffs. It's his primary pitch. So that shouldn't surprise anybody. I just kind of like it. I like getting to a little bit of him, even in a tough Houston spot. If you are trying to be a psychopath and roster tons and tons of Braves and expect to get above the field on it, I did it yesterday because I kind of was in a pinch with NBA stuff. But regardless, I don't want to be playing all the Braves and all the land with everybody else today. But if I was, I would definitely have to get to guys like Brady Singer as a result.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people are going to be rostering Garrett Cole with Nathan Eovaldi's $100 more than Singer. And if you're doing that, you're probably playing the Braves as well, which you're going to be tied with everybody else. So if you're just trying to get off of that chalk, because you can play chalk, you just have to find ways to get different. Brady Singer's coming in at less than 1% owned, I think, right now. Obviously, that could change a little bit by the time game time rolls around, but he's probably going to be really low, and it's a really good way to get leverage.
All right. Most important question I've asked you all day long.
Okay.
What is your favorite movie?
Probably the Hangover series is funny.
The series is fun. The first one's funny.
The third one kind of falls off. First and two are good though.
But favorite movie ever?
It makes me laugh.
You're going with The Hangover. That is an egregious take, Chris Pennell. That is egregious.
I want you to just keep backing into this corner. Go ahead, Chris. Keep going. Go ahead. What The Hangover? It's hilarious. It's like,
it's funny.
I mean,
I like Vegas. It reminds me of being there, and it's funny. I don't know.
Who let the dogs out? Who? All right. Honestly, not the most egregious take. I will say, not the greatest take either. But
you put me in a pinch, though. I didn't have time to think about it.
Sorry. Well, think about it more as I, go through the offenses here, because even against Brady Singer, I will still, one of my favorite things to do is roster Houston. This is a scum dagger situation for me. No doubt about it. Third most positively leveraged stack being Houston. It's been a bummer because without Kyle Tucker, it's not nearly as appealing for me to get to some of this team, but is Kyle Tucker projected to be back here today. He sure is. So there you go. 4,900. Did he bat yesterday? He did 2 days ago. Yeah, but he had the 4 at bats. He didn't, wasn't in the lineup before there. All right. Kyle Tucker, no problem firing him up at will here. Alongside Yordan Alvarez, one of the best hitters in baseball, Jeremy Pena, Bregman, Altuve, none of these guys getting any attention against Singer. That is the reasoning that you roster them. How do you feel about Houston?
Yeah, don't forget about Michael Brantley as well. I mean, he's definitely.
I skipped him on purpose, especially today. You're in the doghouse.
I know. I had to make sure you got it in, though.
Have you seen a Marvel movie?
Oh, I love You know what? Maybe Spider-Man's one of my favorites.
There you go. See, better takes. We are improving your taste. And Tyler, you're fine. You're fine. Don't do that. Goodfellas, Scarface, Django Unchained, Inglourious Basterds, The Outlaw, Josie Wales are my top 5, no order. Gladiator is number 1 and will always be number 1 for me. It's almost impossible for a movie to come out that's better than Gladiator. It is the perfect, most incredible film. If you've never seen it, just go watch it. Have you ever seen The Gladiator?
Should I just log off? Get off Zoom?
Son of a bitch. Oh my God. All right. Kansas City on the other side of this one. I feel like offensively, we got to talk about a couple bats, even if I don't like any of them, because Jose Urquidy confirmed not good.
No.
Any Kansas City bats that stick out to you today?
I wouldn't say they really stick out. I mean, Urquidy doesn't strike anybody out, so they're going to put the ball in play, but it's not the greatest lineup out there. If you want to look at some Salvador Perez or maybe MJ Melendez, if you want, sure, Bobby Witt, Benintendi, but man, it's not a lineup I really want to get through too much. Even though Urquidy's not great, it's like the battle of mediocrity.
It's not good.
No.
Yeah, it's not good. Manuel Rivera's hitting the ball hard so far in his major league career. So there's that. He's got 4 homers on the season. He's 2,600. You can talk me into falling into some shares. Probably not, though. This is just not a team to prioritize. It never has been for me. Bobby Witt Jr. is up to 4,800 now. Whit Merrifield and Hunter Dozier, disappointments, I would say, compared to previous seasons. You are getting some outfield eligibility now for MJ Melendez. I didn't know that he had that. I'm in my year-long stuff. I didn't recognize that he had outfield eligibility, or maybe he just got it here. But he's been the guy who's been leading in terms of the home run props from the Kansas City side for the last couple of games as I go through some of the numbers at Sportsbook. So be on the lookout. MJ Melendez may be a piece to get to as well. And Benintendi, 3,600. That's too cheap for him. I might get to a little bit more Kansas City, it sounds like, than you, but it doesn't feel good because I'm with you where this offense is not good, top to bottom, just not the best one to get to. But I will have some shares, 4.3 implied run total. I can't not say that they're in a better spot than even Tampa Bay, who I do like at a lower implied run total. But we continue on. Anything else from this game for you?
No, it was a brutal one for me, not even from the baseball perspective, but hopefully it gets better in the next one.
Yeah, it does, because we got some pitchers. Joe Musgrove, Corbin Burns, heard of them? They're pretty good. San Diego Padres, 2.9 implied run total. Milwaukee Brewers, 3.6. If you're not going to play Garrett Cole, again, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, that's just kind of a testament to how good the pitchers are on this slate, that Garrett Cole isn't 50, 60% owned in this kind of a spot. But Corbin Burns, positive leverage. It's been up and down for pretty much the entire Milwaukee staff, even though they're still the best staff in baseball, top to bottom. But then you've got on the other side of this one too, somebody that I thought was going to gain more attention. That's Joe Musgrove against Milwaukee. And he's just not. So I like both pitchers. I think it's just going to be a tournament du jour kind of a spot. Do you have a preference between the two? And are you going to be rostering a little bit of both?
I'm always going to have to try to give myself like a lean towards Corbin Burns, no matter who he's going up against. He's got the best chance to be a top 2 pitcher on the top pitcher stool and some positive leverage, which a lot of these studs do not have, like Garrett Cole top. We're talking about a lot of negative leverage, but again, it's not something we're too concerned about it. But the thing with Joe Musgrove is I was trying to find him on the top pitcher stool. I thought we forgot to put him on there, but he's all the way down there by Jose Urquidy, Brady Singer, Tyler Anderson. And if he's going to come in less than 1% owned, yeah, sign me up for a lot of Joe Musgrove. But as of right now, the most positive leverage on the slate, I realize I don't think he's as good as Corbin Burns, but some of his numbers are very, very strong, and he has been for a couple of seasons now. Doesn't have quite the strikeout rate of Corbin Burns or Garrett Cole, sitting at 25%, but his numbers are really, really good. And I mean, if we're talking like a percent owned today, it's really easy to get overweight and get a good spot in tournaments.
Yeah, the main reason that you're going to see people shy away from Joe Musgrove, 185 ISO for Milwaukee against right-handed pitching this season. Just outrageous. That's second best in baseball, just behind the Angels, literally .001 behind the Angels. A 108 WRC plus. 288 BABIP. I mean, this is a team that is going to be difficult to see the upside the way that you can obviously see it for Garrett Cole for a little bit more, $300 more. And then Corbin Burns, he's just another fantastic spot, getting some positive leverage in the top pitchers tool as well. But Joe Musgrove, by far the most positive leverage to get to. Top 2 pitcher percentage of 14.6%. That's 4th best on the slate. And nobody's clicking on the name. I get it. But Joe Musgrove is definitely going to be in my portfolio way above 1% if that maintains. We'll see what happens as we get closer to lock, of course. But because of how much I like the pitchers in this game, I'm just not really clicking on any offenses. If you had to take a bat from either side, or if you had to take a stack from either side, who do you take?
It'd probably have to be Milwaukee for me. I just don't stack against Corbin Burns. I realize maybe it's worked a couple times, but I remember that one game versus Atlanta didn't really work out too well. But Christian Yelich, Colton Wong, Rowdy Tellez, some of these lefty power bats, or I wouldn't call Colton Wong a power bat, but Christian Yelich, Rowdy Tellez, I think some of those guys can have some success, but I don't want to go my way to do it. Maybe one-offs or mini stacks.
Yeah, we saw a vintage Corbin Burns, a circa 2021 performance, if you will, or beginning of the season performance against St. Louis. 40 DraftKings points, 11 strikeouts. That was just spectacular stuff. Both of these guys under 2 ERAs, phenomenal K percentages, phenomenal across the board. Corbin Burns better in the strikeout department, 31.8% compared to Musgrove's 25.3. So obviously I'm going to prefer a little bit more Burns, but so does the field. So yeah, Musgrove, Burns, going to get to lots of them here. 3 games to go. Before we get into the Coors Field game, smash the like button for my buddy Chris over there, my illiterate movie friend Chris over there. We need to culture him. So if you give him some likes, maybe he can afford a Blockbuster rental or 2. That would be great for him. And then also, Awesemo discounts. You guys want to check out some beta testing of tools? We have this really cool thing that showed up. The MLB players. You can basically just check out every single position. It's DraftKings specific right now, so my apologies if you're a FanDuel elitist, but top batters tool for DraftKings is so awesome. Whenever we get new tools like that, you want to test out early, be part of our text program. Text MVP22 to 660-656-4417. I believe Tyler will be flashing that on the screen or putting it in chat. One of the two. It's in the chat. It's on the thing. Is it updating? Yeah, I didn't even hit the like button yet. I had to hit the like button on my own video. That's a good idea. But here we are. Definitely click that, sign up for it, get all of those great tools and content. Check them out a little bit ahead of time. So yeah, for more information, simply click the link below in the video description. So yeah, if you click on the little arrow thing, go to the video description. I'm done talking with my hands like this. It's awkward, but MLB, what is it? MVP 22. That's the code that you're going to send. Cool. 3 games to go. Let's talk Coors Field, because why not here? Atlanta Braves 6.3 at Colorado 4.7. Max Fried 22.9% K percentage, a decent real life pitcher, 1.10 whip. That makes the Colorado side a little less appealing. But Max Fried, I can't play him in Coors Field on a slate with so many other aces and so many other good spots. I'd rather go just about anywhere else. Do you have any Max Fried interest?
No, I'd rather get to Brady Singer, even though the matchup's tough, but he's a little bit cheaper. I'd rather get to probably guys like Merrill Kelly, Logan Gilbert, JT Brubaker. So Max Fried, great real life pitcher, doesn't give up a lot of power, good amount of ground balls, but just doesn't have the strikeout upside for me to really want to roster him in Coors Field.
That was so concise and perfectly said. Look at that. Super easy. We jump to the other side and oh boy. Chad Cool. Not cool is the other side of the pillow. Chad Cold is the other side of the pillow, maybe. 18.8% K percentage, 1.27 whip. Let me just count the ways the Atlanta Braves are going to be chalky. Because Chad Cool's on the mound. We're not going to roster him, so let's jump to the Braves side. At their current ownership across the industry, do you see yourself still rostering any pieces of this team in because I know you'll have to play them in cash, but in non-cash formats?
I'm still going to have to. Yes, they're extremely chalky and they do have negative leverage, but to full fade them, I think you're kind of nuts. If you want to go underweight, I get it. There's other good offenses to get to on this slate. You're going to get the Dodgers low owned, which, the matchup's pretty tough versus Bassett, but you have other offenses in really good spots. So it's not like you have to play the Braves. I said the same thing yesterday, though, and I started a lot of Braves, but at the same time, they also got 13 or 14 runs. And if you didn't have them, you were pretty much dead. So that's something to keep in mind that, yes, they're going to have high ownership, but I still want to get to them. If you're looking at the top stack tool, they are by far and away above everybody else. They're sitting at north of 20%. The next best team is under 8%. So yeah, it's going to be hard not to like the Braves here. They're going to be very chalky. You're going to have to try to get different with it. So like we said earlier, if you want to roster the Braves, that's fine. But don't take Garrett Cole, Nathan Eovaldi, who everyone's playing. Maybe get the Joe Musgrove and Brady Singer to lower that ownership.
Which bat do you think is the most underowned on DraftKings?
Let me pull up the ownership here. Is Michael Harris somewhat low?
I mean, he's at 0 right now. He's going to be popular anyway. I mean, I think the 9th projected is Adam Duvall. We'll see, because right now he's at 29%. And whoever's going to be batting 9th is going to be crazy popular because they're cheap and they allow for everything to work. But I'm telling you, I don't see a path on DraftKings that I play them. Yesterday, I jammed because I didn't really have time to do anything else. And then, like in the 121 in the single entry, Austin Riley was 65% owned. I know it was a completely different slate, an 8-gamer that we had yesterday, but even on a 12-gamer today, I mean, we're looking at 20+% ownership across the board. Maybe Travis d'Arnaud again, where, he came off 2 double dongs. That's not the reason. It's more of just a $4,200 catcher as opposed to, a William Contreras up there at 5K. He'll probably be catching in this one. So be on the lookout of ownership. At their current ownerships, it's just really, really uncomfortable on FanDuel and DraftKings. I think I'm going to prefer the other side of this one against Max Fried. That is the Colorado Rockies, who, they ended up getting completely dusted at home last night, but it doesn't matter. All CJ Cron does is hit home runs, no matter what. Got money on his mind, that's for sure. But CJ Cron, Connor Joe, I'm going to get some Charlie Blackmon. Nobody's gaining any attention whatsoever on FanDuel for this team. Same thing on DraftKings, going in with some positive leverage, 3rd highest top stack potential. I don't know. It just feels like a skip the Braves and go play the Rockies kind of a spot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I like the Braves on paper, and I do have a bit of a cash mindset when I do speak. So 150 max tournaments, I understand when to get underweight because yes, this spot is amazing, but at the same time, is it going to, like, if Acuna is going to be 40%, like close to what we're projecting? Yeah. It's tough to imagine he'd have a chance to be 40% optimal on the slate. Like, there's a lot of other good bats on this slate. The Rockies coming at much lower ownership. Yeah, the matchup's tougher versus Max Fried. He's been very tough on lefties, so I'd pretty much only be looking to roster the righties for the most part. Like, he's got a 62% ground ball rate, 0.018 ISO, and a 1% walk rate versus lefties. Obviously, the righties you can get to, which they do get to a little bit more. CJ Cron, like you said, he's been mashing this year, always has crushed lefties. Jonathan Dow's up top, Connor Joe, Brendan Rodgers. I mean, some of the name value after the top 3 does drop off quite a bit, but we're still in Coors Field. They have a run total close to 5, and they're not getting nearly as much ownership as the team right across from them.
Just looked at the weather too. Winds blowing out to left field. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's like 10 to 12 sustained wind going straight out to center left. Like all these righties from Colorado, I'm going to have a crazy amount of them. I can promise you that. Hi, Connor Joe, Randall Grichuk, one-time dealer. We'll see if Jonathan Daza comes back, who didn't play yesterday. We shall see. Yes, Brendan Rodgers, my arch nemesis, going triple dong. Thank God it wasn't on a slate because of the doubleheader. That would have been just extremely painful. Of course, he was on my bench in Dynasty because that's how those things work. But whatever, good to see him have a pulse. Anything else from this Coors Field game for you?
Just keep in mind, yes, the Braves are in a good spot, but they're going to be massively owned. It always pays to be underweight in chalk spots in MLB DFS. Speaking
of massively owned and a chalk spot in MLB DFS, we've got the Boston Red Sox, 3.9 implied runs. Oakland Athletics, 3.1. Why is it so low? Well, they're the Oakland Athletics. I think that's part 1. But part 2, Nathan Eovaldi. I don't know what happened to his price or why he got the cut that he did, but he's 8K against this Oakland team. And that is broken on DraftKings.com. I think on FanDuel, you're still going to be looking at rostering quite a bit of him. What's his price over there today as I'm pulling it up here?
It's only 8.8.
I mean, that's just wrong. So yeah. Cool. Nathan Eovaldi, huge talking point for this slate. Do you want to be over or under his current ownership?
Let me see. Last time I looked, I believe he was second highest. Yeah, he's coming at 35%. I think that's fair. If you're looking at the top pitchers tool, though, lots of negative leverage to be had. And we already talked about a lot of good mid-range options like Brady Singer, like JT Brubaker, like Merrill Kelly, Logan Gilbert. So I'm probably not going to get to 35%. And I mean, if you're looking at Nathan Eovaldi's numbers, yes, they've been good this year. He doesn't walk many guys and a 25% carry, but at the same time, Also a 40% hard contact rate and 2.5 homers allowed per 9. So if he allows a couple hits and he just happens to give up a 3-run shot, and the other guys we already talked about just kind of cruise by in their starts, there could be a good chance to get some underweight action on Nathan Eovaldi. But if you're playing cash games or single tournaments, it's a good chance to probably end up with like a Garrett Cole, Nathan Eovaldi combination.
Yeah, Eovaldi and Garrett Cole, I feel like just eyeball test, probably going to be your cash game pitchers. Don't quote me on that, but anytime you see guys too north of 35%, those are probably the two you're clicking on. The field's gotten sharper. Just play the two most popular guys when they stand out the way that they do. But negative leverage, let's talk about this. Nathan Eovaldi, Garrett Cole, Zach Eflin, Yusei Kikuchi, that's funny, and Shane McClanahan. Those are your 5 most negatively leveraged pitchers. Who are your favorite 2 to roster?
From those 2, just trying to keep in mind like negative leverage and whatnot, I think Shane McClanahan and probably Garrett Cole for me. Like I know Garrett Cole's got negative leverage, but I don't really care too much.
We are absolutely on the same page. I know they're the expensive route to go. It's going to be hard to play a lot of Colorado bats, but I mean, they're sub 5K. You can make it work. There's enough guys to find at the very, very cheap end. And I'm not talking the Braves that are way underpriced and kind of like having them revolve around with everybody. But McClanahan and Cole, I find to be completely unavoidable. Could put up 35 in any given spot with their K percentages, with their abilities, and both in just phenomenal matchups. This iteration of the White Sox lineup and any iteration of the Detroit lineup, Garrett Cole should be able to succeed. At least you would hope so. You would really, really hope so. So I'm with you. I think those expensive pitchers might be how I get a little bit more different, trying to get up to more McClanahan. It seems like 19%. Maybe that's about appropriate, but yeah, I think I want more than that. All right. Eovaldi, a little bit under the field on. I'm with you there. James Caprillion on the other side. He was a young prospect. The Yankees ended up parting with him, had a ground ball rate last season, doesn't have a ground ball rate anymore. I will say that it has not been good so far here for James Caprillion. I have no interest in rostering him, but is he bad enough for you to consider this Boston team with confirmed power on the other side?
Yeah, I could get to some Boston. I mean, if you're looking at Caprilion's numbers, close to a 5 xFIP this year, 17.8% K rate, close to a double-digit walk rate, over a 200 ISO, 46% fly ball rate, and 2 homers allowed per 9. It's a fine park to pitch in for sure. I wish it was in Fenway, or we'd have a higher implied run total for Boston. But yeah, lots of good bats here. I will say they've been disappointing me. I did roster Boston several nights in a row, and they did nothing. But Kike Hernandez, Devers, Martinez, Bogarts, Verdugo, Trevor Story, and even Franchi Cordero, Vasquez, and Bradley. Yeah, it's a great lineup from top to bottom. Tons of power. I could certainly get there. I don't think they're drawing in a ton of ownership as far as
like
the top.
None.
Yeah. And it's probably because I think it's a late game and they're playing in Oakland, obviously not in Fenway. So I definitely don't mind getting overweight there.
I'm with you. I think Boston really stands out as a team to try to find paths to get to. They're overpriced for the ballpark, but definitely not for the matchup. Franchi batted leadoff the other night. He's going to probably be in the 7-hole here, but he's still sub 3K, 2,900 on DraftKings.com. Alex Verdugo hasn't been as pretty. His home run props have been lingering around plus 600, 700, which is just telling you Vegas doesn't expect a whole lot of power from him going forward. But we just saw him put up 2 doubles, put up 20 last time out against Hunter Green. That was heartbreaking because I love my boy Hunter Green, but Alex Verdugo, another piece of stacks to find some salary savings, 3,400 on DraftKings. I'm with you on that one. Oakland, I cannot imagine that I roster any of them, even with the wind blowing out slightly. I know the wind suppressed a little bit in that ballpark, but 60 degrees evening game doesn't really look like there's anybody that has enough pop for me against Eovaldi.
No, and Eovaldi is going to be overowned today, more than likely. But at the same time, that doesn't want to make me roster Oakland. It just makes me want to pivot to some other pitchers. Like, I mean, you're talking about a lineup with Tony Kemp, Jed Lowry, Mariano, Brown, Murphy. It's not good. Eovaldi's a pretty good pitcher. So tough time to get to Oakland.
Yeah, Tom Spalding. You so many pitching studs you can mix and match. You absolutely can today. You have so many aces that are on this board. But even there's some upside in the mid-range. Think we've highlighted Brubaker, Singer, and then there might be one guy. He's not the mid-range, but we're going to talk Chris Bassett here in a second. That'll be an interesting talking point at 8,100 for DraftKings purposes. But let's get there now, shall we? Anything else from this game?
Nope, I'm good there.
All right, one more to go. Hit the like button for my dude Chris over there. Get together a list of movie recommendations for him for a nice rainy. Well, I guess it's Friday because hurricane is different than a rainy day. No apologies. Maybe be on high alert while watching
We'll do.
Streaming. Yeah, that's cool. Good idea. Let's do it. New York Mets, 3.6 implied runs. Dodgers, 4.4 here on the other side. Chris Bassett, 24.4% K percentage, 1.17 whip, 3.44 expected ERA. So a decent pitcher with a decent amount of strikeout upside. I feel like nobody ever rosters pitchers against the Dodgers, and I get it. I don't like it. But the ownership for a good pitcher always dictates what I'm going to do. And I think I have to be over on Chris Bassett here at 8,100. He was the last pitcher I really wanted to highlight. He's 0.5% owned, so it's really not that hard in 150 to get over the field there. But 8,100 for him on DraftKings specifically. FanDuel, I think it's pretty unnecessary at 9,400 to try to roster him. But on DK specifically as an SP2 in tournaments, how do you feel about trying to make Chris Bassett a thing with me?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, Nathan Eovaldi. Like, yes, he's in a great spot, but there is so many other pitchers right around $8,000 that are also very good. Maybe the spots aren't as good, but they have the upside that Nathan Eovaldi has. I mean, Chris Bassett's a good pitcher, 3.8 xFIP, close to 25% K rate, doesn't allow a ton of power. The problem is he's facing the Dodgers, which I never roster pitchers versus the Dodgers. It's kind of like a rule I have, but this is one of those spots where maybe I can, because if we're getting Bassett under percent owned, just throw 5% on. It's not hard to get some leverage there. I mean, you can still play some Dodger stacks if you want, but it's only a 4.5 implied run total for the Dodgers. For them, that's really low. Usually they're sitting right around 5. So if you get a 4.5, that's some pretty good respect from Vegas out of Chris Bassett there. So don't mind him as a tournament SP2, but it doesn't feel great.
Oh, I talked you into it. I was going to feel really, really gross about it, but even on the other side, Tyler Anderson, 24.2% K percentage, better whip, 1.01 whip. But at his current price on DK, just harder for me to land on shares of him. I get that he's going to be very underowned, but 9,500 is a full freight price to be paying against this Mets team that confirmed righty power in the likes of Pete Alonso, Starling Marte, Francisco Lindor switch hitter. This Mets offense is too potent for me to want to go pay 9,500 for him. So yes, I'm going to side with the Chris Bassett side. I have to. It's just going to be a guy who falls into actual lineups. Tyler Anderson feels like a force, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he's really expensive, $9,500. I know he had that one game where he went 101 pitches, but this is not a guy that typically, super deep as far as his pitch count. 79 last game, 82, 88, 80, 69, 80. Like, I wish it was a little bit deeper. And at his price point, I don't think you can play him on FanDuel. It's just kind of an absurd price tag because you have Gilbert, McClanahan, Garrett Cole not too far away, and $9,500 on DraftKings. Like you say, it feels like you're just completely forcing him in, and that's not something I really want to do.
Yeah, and the Mets, who is it that just said that? Where did it go? Michael Roundtree. Mets look good here. They look like the Mets, and they're a really good offense, and they're going to be very low owned, and you're going to have positive leverage. Just another team to have into the mix. I always love Starling Marte, Eduardo Escobar, even getting him into the mix there. Problem is you have a catcher that's basically useless in that lineup, complete write-off. JD Davis is going to usually be the most popular batter because he's 3,100 on DK. So I get both of those, but we'll see if Lindor ends up in that lineup. I know that he got removed with a finger deal. He didn't end up playing yesterday. It sounds like I'm reading the blurb now, hoping to return Friday. So Francisco Lindor, that makes it a far more appealing offense, but anything that sticks out to you from the Mets side?
No, if I'm rostering anybody, it's going to be some of these righties here. Mark Canha, I think last time I played him versus lefty, he went like 5 for 5. Like, he's always hit lefties fine. Pete Alonso obviously has a ton of power, and getting Frankie back would be great. Starling Marte, obviously. So yeah, it's a great offense in general, but not a great spot versus Tyler Anderson. Even though we don't really like Anderson from a DFS perspective, from a real life point of view, he's pretty good.
And I just love getting to the Dodgers when there's positive leverage, even against Chris Bassett. I just gave you all the reasons that I like him, but it's the exact same reason that I love the Dodgers on the other side. It's a potent offense that nobody's clicking on. The fourth most positive leverage to be getting to. Houston, Dodgers, Red Sox. Those are 3 pretty potent offenses, and nobody is clicking on them because everybody is running to the window to cash their Atlanta tickets already. Best of luck to you, Fish. I'm going to be going the other way. Are you going to be rostering some Dodgers with me?
I think you always have to get some Dodgers. I mean, at their low ownership, I know it's Chris Bassett. He's a great pitcher. I mean, not great, but he's a good pitcher. Yeah, but you have Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Will Smith. Like, at the same time, yeah, it's a tough matchup for going up against Bassett, but it's a tough matchup for Bassett going against his offense as well. And I'd probably give the edge to these bats, maybe not all the time, but they definitely can do some damage versus Bassett.
All right. Hey, Tyler Xander, 70 minutes there. How about that? How about them apples? Yeah, maybe good, maybe shit. Who knows? Who knows? Too bad you got rid of that effect. But it was a lot of fun. Tyler Xander, great work. Per usual here on the MLB Strategy Show. Always nice to see his smiling, lovely face. I get to see it again later today. Looking forward to it on MLB Live Before Lock, hanging out with my buddy Terry at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. But first, starting up at 4:45, so you get an extra 15 minutes. Greg and Neil doing a 75-minute show, doing exactly what we just did. Game-by-game breakdown, talking through their opinions on things. They're both fantastic at DFS. I would listen to them. But Chris, phenomenal work here, my friend. Any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No final words. I'm just going to try to watch some movies, I guess. I don't get roasted next time we do it.
Yeah, we'll culture you a little bit, my friend. Thank you so much to Prize Picks for their sponsorship. Check out on the Odd Shopper channel. I'll have my 3 Prize Picks picks coming up very, very soon here within the hour. I'll be firing those up, putting those online for you guys to enjoy. Best of luck to us all. He's Chris. He's going to get his culture on. I'm Eric. I am going to probably take a nap. We'll see you guys later.